This conference will
Maybe.
now be recorded.
Okay. So hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. I just wanted to start off, well, hope everybody had a safe and happy Memorial Day. I'm sure, I know it's a little bit different than a lot of the others, unfortunately. But isn't everything? Uh-oh, Trina left. What happened? But all right, so just a couple of things. We do have a guest speaker today. Her name is Christine. She will be speaking in a minute. I just wanted to let you all know that the way we're going to work it is everybody if you have a question, you have one question, and then we'll go to the next one. And then if we have time for another question, we will come back to you. This way, everybody gets a chance. I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance. The caller left too. We're dropping people here. All right, so
Trina's having some phone issues, Frank. So.
Oh, okay. All right. So, but for the new people, I know that Beth is new. Beth, are you there? You're on mute right now.
I am, yes, yes. Sorry, I'm just making dinner for my family while we talk, so I'm keeping myself muted.
Oh, I was just going to ask you if you could just introduce yourself and where you're from and how, like when you were diagnosed.
Sure. My name is Beth, and I live in Utah, just north of Salt Lake. And I was diagnosed January of 2018.
Okay. And where do you have your sarcoidosis?
Preliminary, it's mostly, what's the word? In my lungs.
Okay. Sure.
And now it's also in my joints.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming. Do appreciate it. And
sure.
I'm going to ask Tina. Tina, can you just introduce yourself a little bit? Like where you're from, when you got diagnosed? Yeah, you're on mute.
Sure. All right. Did you say Tina or Trina? Which one? Me?
Tina. Yes, you.
Okay. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I was diagnosed actually a year ago, last April. I started out with some sores in my scalp that would never go away. And so I finally got to a dermatologist, did a biopsy, and he determined it was sarcoidosis. First, he thought it was lupus, but it came back sarcoidosis. And so then that started the doctor's appointments with all the ologists, the pulmonologists, and everybody else, x-rays and so forth. And then last October, I started having some heart palpitations, getting really weak, short of breath when I walked. And that lasted for about 4 or 5 days. And finally went to the ER. And after several trips to the ER, about three times that weekend, they did a stress test and saw that my heart was beating at 2 different rates. And so they immediately transported me. I live near the Army base near Womack, near Fort Bragg. I'm in North Carolina. So I was at Womack Army Hospital, and they immediately transported me to Duke University, and got there on a Monday night, and Wednesday morning I was in surgery getting a defibrillator. So, and that was the first I found out that I had cardiac sarcoidosis. So after many tests at Duke, and had a defibrillator implanted back in October. Now I'm on prednisone, methotrexate, getting ready to start Humira. And Frank, I know how you feel, because I have days where all I want to do is just sit on my couch and feel like a rag doll, don't want to do anything. So.
Yeah, we have those days, unfortunately. Fatigue is one of our biggest symptoms. All right, Patricia, can you speak? Does it work?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Um, I'm Pat Hart. I was diagnosed about 10 years ago, I think in November of 2010. Didn't really start getting very, very sick until 2013, and then took a little nosedive and had to actually stop work. So I've been out of work since then. But I've been, coming on the upswing. First 2 or 3 years were pretty bad, but once I started to get better, I actually started the Sarcoidosis for Beginners group to try to help educate others and, share what I had learned in going through this process. So I have primarily pulmonary sarcoidosis. I have some random symptoms elsewhere, but nothing so severe that I've had to really seek treatment. I did have some skin sarcoidosis, but I went to the dermatologist. It kind of cleared up on its own. And, fortunately, I've been able to wean off most of the prescription drugs and just taking care of my symptoms holistically. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome,
thank
Patricia.
you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
Sure.
you for coming.
Yeah, I advertise this
And yep.
every week, or every 2 weeks in my support group, but I never actually attended myself. So I said, it's time for me to show up, not just I have to walk the talk. So here I am. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, thank you. Oops, I just muted myself. Can I just get a little bit like where you're from, when you were diagnosed, and where do you have sarcoidosis, Agnes?
I'm in Iowa, Southwest Iowa. I was diagnosed probably about 12 years ago, and it started in my eyes. So I have it in my eyes, my skin, my lymph nodes, my sinuses. I've had 5 sinus surgeries, and my lungs. And I've done prednisone, and I can't take that anymore because it really makes me crazy. And methotrexate didn't do anything. So I'm just getting ready to start on Humira, and I'm terrified of that one. So that's me in a nutshell.
Actually, okay. Yeah, actually, I was on Humira. It actually wasn't bad for me. I didn't have the side effects from that, but it didn't work, unfortunately. But I know some others that it did. So, all right, Jessica, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Just a little quick about who you are, where you're from, how long you had sarcoidosis.
Cool. So I am Jessica Reed, and like Tina, I live in North Carolina. Was first diagnosed with sarcoidosis back in '03, primarily neurosarcoidosis, history of grand mal seizures, and have a lot of neurological complications, including bladder, bowel, a limp, and the list just goes on. Right now, I'm still working part-time as a registered nurse and full-time in nursing school for my master's as a nurse practitioner. And long-term goal is to eventually treat and help other sarcoid patients like myself.
Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for your
Thank you,
service.
Jessica.
You're welcome.
And Debbie, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
I oh, 2015. I have lung sarcoidosis. I developed from 9/11, where I did work in 9/11. I'm currently on prednisone and meth. I can't pronounce that word. Meth. Oof. You take it 5 pills once a week. What do you call it? Methotrexate? I think I should pronounce it.
Methotrexate.
Yes. And that's about it. I've been retired for 5 years. I have it in my lung. At this time, it hasn't spread it anywhere else, but I haven't been to the doctor due to the fact that I live in New York, and I'm really terrified of going to the doctor right now. So,
Yeah.
but otherwise, I'm feeling good today.
Glad to hear. Wendy, can you give us a quick synopsis of where you're from and where you have sarcoidosis and when did you get it?
I'm from Rochester, New York, which is not far from Buffalo and Syracuse. And I have neurosarcoid. I have 2 lesions in my back. And there was inflammation in my brain. But when I started going through prednisone treatment, it took it away. It was like a miracle, the doctor said. But I still have problems with the lesions in my back. And I also have it in my lymph nodes. I have something in my kidney. I have something in my thyroid, but haven't gotten diagnosis for my thyroid or kidney yet, but they suspect it's sarcoid.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
welcome. I got everybody but Christine, but I'm gonna let her introduce herself in just in a minute or two. Oh, Trina. Trina and Chasta. So I guess Trina, actually, let me go Chasta to go first, and then you could take over, Trina, and introduce Christine. Go ahead, Chasta.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, hi everybody. I'm Chasta from South Carolina. 15-year survivor as of this year. I have it everywhere but neuro, my heart, and my liver. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you. Just so you know, Chasta, well, Kathleen just stepped away, but Kathleen and Trina are all moderators, as I am also. We are here for you guys whenever you need us. I know, yeah, I'm letting them all know that. I'm volunteering yourself. But we're always here, even if we're not. You could always go into our Sarcoidosis National Online Meeting page on Facebook, and you could contact us there or put something on the page itself, and we will contact you back. We have plenty of moderators that are around, so we can help you out. I'm going to introduce Trina. Here you go. She's going to take over, and then she's going to introduce Christine. For the new people that just jumped in, just so you guys know, Christina is our guest speaker today. And what I'm doing is, if you have any questions, you ask one, and then we'll go around. And if nobody else has another question, then you can ask another question. All right. So this way, everybody gets a chance. All right. All right. Go ahead, Trina. It's all yours.
Good evening, everyone, and glad to see that you were able to attend this session with mental health and having a rare disease. Many of you already know me. I've been misdiagnosed for over 29 years now. I still have sarcoidosis within the right upper lobe of my lung. I also have skin sarcoidosis and also had a cardiac episode of going into heart failure. With that being said, today I'd like to introduce to you our life coach for this evening. Her name is Christine Howell, and she's in Kennesaw, Georgia. Christine, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody. I'm so glad to hear everybody's story and how you guys are surviving. I am a certified life coach, but I'm also an individual that deals with mental illness. I was diagnosed with clinical depression in 2017. So I can only imagine the mental struggles that go on with this disease as it attacks, the body. I have done some reading up on it, and being close friends with Trina, I've experienced some of the stuff firsthand. So I guess really my job here is just to encourage you guys. I know it's a lot going on with the pandemic and us being stuck in the house and things like that. So it's really easy for our mental health and things of that nature to go into what we call in the mental health and clinical world, we call it negative connotations. And so we want to try to keep you from, from having those. Typically, when I struggled with my depression prior to being placed on Lexapro, so Lexapro has been great. I don't know if any of you guys also have the mental illness struggle going on just outside of the regular stress and things like that. But Lexapro has been a medicine that has literally, what I like to say, is saved my life. The negative connotations that I had on a regular subsided. So it takes care of the depression side of it as well as the anxiety. With you guys, I'm pretty sure some of you may be on sleeping pills and things like that. People that struggle with mental illness, they have a hard time sleeping. Not only that, so typically most people are prescribed trazodone, which is a pill that they prescribe for sleeping. It doesn't work for everybody, but it has been a gem for myself. Um, Sometimes you'll get situations like with myself where there's anxiety when you sleep. Now, I know it's easy to think, okay, you know what? Yeah, when I go to sleep, I go to sleep. That's it. No, when the brain has the inability not to get to the RAM level of sleep, anxieties come from your brain not shutting down, your brain thinking about, okay, well, what's going to happen next? Or what's going on with this pandemic? Oh God, I hope, nothing happens to me. So that itself will cause anxiety. It will cause you to jump up in the middle of your sleep, therefore breaking your sleep cycle, therefore making you even more depressed, even more stressed, because your body has to be able to sleep and rejuvenate to be able to function properly, to fight off what the mental illness may be or whatever those thoughts may be. So I typically in the morning, when I get up, I do a lot of affirmations. I keep a list of affirmations on my dry erase board along with my goals, because what that does is that sets the tone for the day. And I don't know about any of you guys, but you're living testimonies that God is able to do anything. And so what I do is by saying those affirmations, I'm saying to him, hey, this is how I need my day to go. This is how I need it to flow. And so I think a lot of times, and I struggled with this, is when things don't typically go our way or go as we planned, we say, okay, well, I failed or I made a mistake or, things just aren't going my way, which allows you to kind of get into that mental slump. And it does. It can with the lack of sleep and that mental slump, along with you guys's serious condition, it can just completely drain you on top of what you're already experiencing. So I found that if you keep a positive light, even throughout the negative things, try to force your brain to find a good spot. So what a friend of mine yesterday, he called me and he said, Christine, my friend's son has been diagnosed with COVID-19. And he said, I was over there. Oh God, what am I going to do? Christine, I can't afford to have COVID-19. And so I said to him, I said, look, here's the positive side of things. You don't have it. Yes. Is the ability to go get checked there? Yes. So that's another plus that you can add to your list of things, because in our world and in our society, we are literally programmed to amplify the negative. And so not only for us as individuals, but a lot of times it came from our bloodlines as well. For me, because back then, um, things were just different. They weren't but a couple of generations out of slavery. And so that bond that families should have, sometimes they didn't. And it began with, oh, things are always going bad. Things are always down because of the ability for parents not knowing, hey, if we speak positive things will happen. So now that we know that, it's our job to educate each other and to pass that on to the next generation and say, hey, just because it looks this way doesn't mean it is that way. And I'm pretty sure all of you guys feel the same, because going through different entities of battling this disease, you have to have something positive in there to be able to sustain. And I just believe that. I believe a positive mindset will push positive results, and it'll keep you around for a long time, and it'll keep people fighting to find a cure for this disease, because there is no cure. But I want to encourage you to keep those positive affirmations there. When something bad happens, or you're going through something, as hard as it is, and as human ridiculous as it sounds to some people, because when I was in my place, it sounded ridiculous to me. I would say I get up in the morning and I tell God, thank you. And it just keeps you moving forward, because it will allow you to see, okay, I've gotten up, I'm breathing, I'm able to shower, I've had no flare-ups. As you begin to speak those things, you begin to see your life change, because mental illness, much like sarcoidosis, there's no real cure for it. That you have to take the medications and hope that they work. So it's kind of the same wavelength. So I keep the positive affirmations. I always try to keep me a good positive book. Max Luciato, he is awesome with writing books that just uplift you, but they also increase and help you understand more about a relationship with God. I keep, let me grab the book for you guys so you guys can see. This is a book that I bought for me personally. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's by Sarah Young, and it's devotions for every day of the year. It says Jesus is calling, enjoying peace in his presence. And what it does is it just basically gives you a powerful, positive word for the day, and they're dated. So you can go back and you can revisit these, which I've been doing because I bought this in 2019. But basically, it gives you an encouraging word every day. It gives you a scripture to match those particular words. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Chris, can you also hit on those who beliefs are different than that?
Oh, absolutely. I think regardless of what religion you are, I believe that positive energy and positive mindset can be for anybody, whether you're Catholic, they believe in Mary, and then you've got the Muslims who believe in Allah. I believe this, it's all one God, regardless of what you choose to call him. It's all one God. And if you keep a positive mindset and you keep a thankful mindset, things will shift in the proper direction. It may not be in the direction that you think, but it will be in the proper direction for your life according to your spiritual guide.
Can you also give us some feedback on your personal experiences with, you said Lexapro that you're on, and the first stages when you were able to pretty much say, hey, something is not right, what it took for you to build up to make that first appointment, and then moving forward with being actually prescribed the medication, and how did you do within the first month?
Okay, great questions. So initially, I started experiencing heavy bouts of depression around 2010. I had them before, but I was able to come out of them. But 2010, I had lost my job. My house had been robbed. I was making $10 an hour, and I was a single mom. And it was really difficult. So at first, I was drinking a lot. I mean, it was ridiculous how much I was drinking when I got off work. It was terrible, so much to the point where my daughter would get in the door before me and go pour me a glass of wine, like she's not getting ready to go off on me today. And so at that particular point, I was sleeping a lot. I remember sleeping, saying, Lord, don't wake me up. It was very hard. Thank God my daughter was self-sufficient. But looking back, she was cooking her own dinner. She was making me dinner, while I was sleeping after I got done helping with her with her homework. And it wasn't until 2014, and I was sitting around with an ex-boyfriend of mine, and we were laughing. And I said, yeah, I said, I hated that job. I just wanted to sleep all the time. And my daughter started crying. And I said, what's wrong? She said, because you're depressed. And I thought I was going to have to take you to the hospital. But that wasn't even enough for me to make the appointment, because I was so afraid of the stigma. People had told me, girl, don't go see no psychiatrist. My friend got on this medicine and, they killed themselves. So I fought it back for a couple more years. And then in 2015 was a great year. And at the time I went to work for Verizon. I was so thankful. And it wasn't too much longer after that, I started hating my job. I started hating my life all over again, but it was getting worse. The racing thoughts, the constant racing thoughts, the constant, I'm not good enough, stuff is never going to go my way. And when it hit rock bottom for me, I remember November 2016 getting up to try to get dressed for work. And I just sat on the bed and I just cried for an hour. Like I had nowhere to go, nowhere to be. I wasn't dressed or anything. So I ended up taking the day off, because I would find myself driving to work. I would be crying. Not only because I hated my job, because I hated where my life was at that particular point. Depression has you so dazed out, to the point where it doesn't matter how much you've accomplished. I wasn't happy. I had done 2 college degrees. I was raising a child on my own. I'd always kept a roof and stuff off my head, but it just wasn't good enough for me. No matter what I did, it wasn't good enough. And it was finally at that point, I said, you know what? I said, if my daughter saw it the first time, she will see it the second time. So when January came, I said, that's it. I'm going to go get some help because I can't have her seeing this. So I went, wonderful psychiatrist, Dr. Weinberg here in Kaiser Permanente, that's from New York City. He was wonderful. He made me feel very comfortable. And he let me know, he says, you have clinical depression. And he said, and let me explain to you what that is. He said, it's seasonal mood. It's a little bit of bipolar. It's a little bit of ADHD, but it's treatable. And I said, okay. He said, so here's the plan. We're going to get you hooked up with a therapist and we're going to get you on some medication. So my initial medication was Wellbutrin. Wellbutrin has been taken off the market. Initially, Wellbutrin covered and it closed out the racing thoughts, but I was still having depressive episodes.
Yes.
So every now and then, I mean, it was great for my weight because keep in mind, I had my thyroid moved out, taken out around the time the depression got really bad. And that was 2014, they took it out. By the end of 2015, it was, the depression was really bad again. And so I did Wellbutrin for a year. And then 2018, and because I was still having depressive episodes, I went on leave from my job. And this would be the second time I would do a support group, which if you haven't done one of those, it's awesome. It really, really helped me. I ended up
That's
finding my next therapist. So it was almost like a phase. Like I had one therapist, but this particular therapist um, was the mirror that I needed to see. And so I ended up getting switched to another psychiatrist. Her name was Dr. Nadine Burnett, who's also from New York. But when I told her that I was having the anxiety and, the racing thoughts were gone, but I was still having depressive episodes, she said, well, let's try Lexapro. And I said, okay. I said, if you feel like it's going to do the job, I'm open to it. My weight wasn't open to it. Let me be clear about that. Because after I got off the Wellbutrin, I didn't realize that it had an appetite suppressant in it. So my body it just blew up. But I felt good. My daughter came. I remember the first couple of days I took it. My daughter came home, and I had cooked chicken and barbecue ribs, and I had made potato salad and yams. You would have thought we were having like an all-out party. As she walked in the house, she goes, "Who's going to eat this?" I was like, "I don't know." She said, "Mom, whatever pill she just gave you, it works great." I said, "Okay." Well, I said, "Well, I'm going to keep taking it." So we upped my dosage from 10. Now I take a full 20 milligrams. And I take it daily. There are some days where I can skip it, but I don't feel any different. I will tell you that pill and those mental health professionals saved my life. They helped me put my life back together. And I've never been so thankful. So, I try to encourage other people, take care of your mental health. Don't just sit there, because your mental health affects your physical health.
Yes. Emotional, all that. Everything is tied in together. Absolutely
Yes.
correct. Anybody has any questions at this time? Okay, so let's play this forward. So moving along, were there any games
I
that
have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Debbie.
How you doing,
Hi.
everyone? Else again. See, to me, I believe my mental ups and downs is from the prednisone. That's what I believe, because ever since I've been on these prednisone, my mood swings are so skyrocket. It's like I go from ups and down, ups and down. But I need the prednisone. So what should I do now?
First and foremost, you want to consult with your physician. You just don't, with prednisone, we have to taper down. Got to protect that heart and them lungs, or whatever, wherever the inflammation may be within your body. That's first and foremost. Have this discussion with your physician. Let them know how you are feeling. See if there's a possibility that they can lower your dosage or wean you off a little quicker. And then your next steps would be to actually speak to a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a social worker, to see if there's anything stemming or brewing just outside of that. It may not just be the prednisone alone. I know I've been on prednisone for almost 20 something years, off and on, and I can attest, yes, prednisone can make you very moody. But again, with that being said, it may not necessarily be the medication. It may be a medication interacting with other medications that you may possibly be taking. Go ahead, Chris. What do you advise?
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of what you said. Is I would let your doctor know how it's making you feel. And not only that, I would recommend finding a psychiatrist. And a lot of them within this pandemic are doing virtual visits. And therapists are doing it as well. Me and my therapist, we have a virtual visit. When I was in the workplace and it was a little bit more stressful, I went to her every 2 weeks. But now, since I've been working from home, she's willing to do, video visits so that I keep my mental health intact. So I would let your doctor know what Trina said, and I would also get with your insurance company or what have you and find you a psychiatrist. Psychology Today is very awesome for that. You can visit that website and you can locate a psychiatrist, a therapist, things like that, because your psychiatrist is basically a doctor. They deal with the past and the present, but the therapy is what helps you deal with the present day changes and stressors that are happening in your life in regards to your illness, family, what have you. So they work in connection. So you want to make sure that you get all three people, in the loop, and you'll get the best results from that.
Thank
Does that answer
you.
your question?
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Anyone
Yes.
else?
Yeah, I had a question, Christine. Thanks so much for sharing your story. When I was just curious, when you talked about not enjoying your job, was this
Mhm.
a manifestation of the illness, or was there actually something going on in your job that made things bad? And the reason I'm asking is just as Trina said, sometimes we've got issues that are health related, and sometimes there are issues outside, and you have to separate the two. So I was just wondering, when you were going through such a bad time at work, was this your illness giving you a different framework, or was there something actually going on in the workplace? And if it's too personal,
No,
no need to
no,
share.
that's fine.
Curious.
To be honest with you, it was both. It was both. I had the struggle of single parenthood, and I was strictly on my own. It was me and God. I didn't have any support system. On top of that, I was still dealing with a lot of childhood trauma. And then some of it was the job, because the work of being a call center rep, and at that particular point, I had been doing it for 12 plus years. So I was exhausted. I knew it was something that I could do and that I could do well. But with that particular company, there was no way to transition to another level because it was an outsourced call center. So it wasn't like I could promote within the company. I will tell you this, after having the mental health under control for 2 years and currently working at Verizon, once I got the mental health under control, I can handle still being in that position. And what shifted, my whole mindset shifted, because I got up in the morning and I would say, Lord, I thank you. Today is going my way. I know I've got to deal with these customers, but let them be nice and let them be polite. And I would just come to work and I would just do my job. And when I got off, I would say, Lord, thank you. And please allow me to connect, because when I was depressed, I couldn't disconnect from work. I couldn't. If a customer made me mad on that phone, I was going to be mad to the next morning. It didn't matter. I was just mad. But as I began to do that, and not only that, I got tested because, when I would apply for a job before, when I was depressed, I'd be like, oh, I probably ain't even going to get it. Because depression makes you so pessimistic. And I would be so negative.
Oh,
And
thank you for pointing that out. Say that again. Depression can make
you
what?
very pessimistic. Like, people used to tell me, Christine, you're so negative. And finally, when I started working on my mental health, I said to myself, I said, you know what? I said, hey, God, if this is the job that I have to do, then I accept it and I thank you. But when a position came open that I wanted, I applied. I got turned down. I applied. I got turned down. But it was that change inside of me that said, okay, you know what? Either you're going to feel like a failure every time it doesn't go the way you want it to go? Or are you going to get up and let all this work that you've done mentally show you who you really are? And so I just kept applying, I kept applying, I kept applying, and finally it shifted. And I got to tell you, it was weird to go home from work and not feel any stress. But I credit it solely to God and the work that I did on my own mental health, because it's such a stigma in the Black community. And so I'm trying to encourage others, hey, go get yourself checked out.
Well, thank you. That's a
What
very
advice
powerful
You're
testimony.
welcome.
Thank you, Patricia. My next question going to be to you is men. They have a tendency of, a lot of them, not all, so I won't stereotype, but they have a tendency of brushing things off like they are in control of everything. And when they're not, it shows, it reflects in their behavior. A lot of them are in denial with, or denying the fact that they need help. So listening to your testimony and knowing, okay, this is the sand drawing in the line. I need to go to get help. How can we coach or push our mate in doing the same thing so that we can keep a sound mind and be at peace?
That's a great question. It's a great question, Trina. Because I'm sorry, my preteen child's coming in here. But that's a great question, Trina. What I tell my young women to do is, young or old, lead by example. If you're in a relationship with someone where you see they have these tendencies or what have you, lead by example. So for instance, it's in the way that we communicate it. And I think a lot of men struggle with communication because they're taught from a little boy, don't cry, don't do this, don't do that. And so they view it as, when you come to them and say, hey, I noticed this about you, they view it as, I need to be on the defense because you're getting ready to say X, Y, Z. So I think you lead by example, by the way you communicate. Make sure you're taking care of your mental health. Because eventually, if they see you going to therapy or they see you taking care of your mental health and you begin to change and shift, either one or two things is going to happen. Either they're going to shift with you and begin to say, hey, you know what? If my significant other is checking on her mental health, then maybe I should go do the same. I try not to, because I've had some pushback. I try not to push it on them, because then it's just refused. So you just have to lead by example, lead by the way that you communicate, and hopefully things will shift.
Now, I know you had spoken about, and I'm sorry, and then we'll get to your questions in a second. I know you had spoken about you dealing with your mental health and being a single parent, and how your daughter had responded to when you got treated on the proper medication. How's that affecting her now, and how has it affected her then, prior to treatment?
I think back then, when she was younger, I think it really scared her. But once I was diagnosed, I sat down with her. I had the conversation, and I did let her know that it runs on my side as well as her father's side, and that if she, feels herself getting depressed, she needs to, reach out for help. You need to contact somebody. I also keep her in the loop about, my medicine and things like that. We do an emotional check-in every week. And so
Let me hear it. How does that go, the emotional check-in?
So in April, she said to me, she said, Mom, I was depressed and you didn't even know it. And I said, I did. And I said, and I'm sorry that I didn't ask. So, we have a conversation just about every day. And so sometimes on Saturdays or what have you, or when I'm feeling like she may have something going on, I'll say to her, I'll say, come in here and sit down. She's like, what's going on, Mom? I said, well, I just want to check on you emotionally. How are you feeling? Is there anything that concerns you? Anything that's stressing you out? If you don't want to talk to me, I'm here for you. But if you don't want to talk to me, then please reach out to, somebody that will be able to help you, because I don't want you to just sit in that, because that's
Mhm.
not a good place to be. And once you get there, it's like it's the fight of your life to get out. So yeah, we have that conversation every week. How are you doing emotionally? How are you doing mentally? So
Can you just refresh us on the different stages or the different names of mental health, what they go by, so that we're all aware and on one page?
yeah, you've got bipolar, you've got
Mhm.
bipolar 1, bipolar 2. And then they've called it everything from clinical to major depression, because it's encompassed of several things. You can have
Mhm.
ADHD. We got ADHD in there. When it's time for me to stay at this desk to work, so I experience a lot of that. Um, you've got seasonal mood. What I mean by seasonal mood is when it gets dark outside early, your body needs vitamin D to make it feel like, hey, I'm here, I'm alive. And so there is actually a light that you can get when it gets dark early, like at 5 o'clock when daylight savings time is over. You can turn that light on, and what it does is it generates that vitamin D to you to make you in a normal mood, if that's what you need. If your mood disorder portion of the depression is top. um
Mhm.
Anxiety, you've got people that have various anxiety disorders. You've also got, of course, the ADHD spectrum. You've got paranoia, schizophrenia. You've got bipolar depression. Um, it's so many different ones that are being discovered just from
Mm.
people starting to be willing to come forward, especially in the African American community, where we do face that stigma. So it's made me very proud that a lot of celebrities have come forward, like Mariah Carey, she's bipolar. You've got people like Jennifer Lewis, who plays on Blackish. She is bipolar and has been bipolar for over 20 years, but just now decided to take the medication. Taraji P. Henson, she also suffers from an anxiety disorder. You've got Adam Levine, that's with Maroon 5. He is ADHD and has been for quite some time.
Can you give us some signs of what or pinpoint exactly anxiety? Because I think at this point in time, I think it would be appropriate to say more than half of us is experiencing some type of anxiety. So can you give us like a little feedback outlook on how to identify what anxiety is?
Anxiety, for some people, your hands sweat. I
Mhm.
know for me, I get jittery. My legs will start to shake. My heart will start racing. Some
Mhm.
people, it gets so bad where it manifests in a panic attack, to where it feels like
Okay.
you're having a heart attack, but you're not. For me, when I used to have panic attacks, my left arm would go completely numb. Shortness of breath, things like that. Anxiety can be managed though with meditation as well.
Oh.
Meditation is awesome. Mindful meditation is great. They have free apps in the Apple Store and in the Android store that you can um, download. One of
Mhm.
my favorites, and it's not free, but it's called Honest Meditation. Um, and I love it. It's funny, but it really does relax you. So meditation is great because it allows you to control the thoughts that are coming into your mind by
Mhm.
inhaling deeply through your nose, placing your tongue at the top of your teeth,
Can
And
you
you
demonstrate
hold.
for us and we practice with you?
Sure. Okay, here we go.
And where's our tongue supposed to be?
You'll hold your tongue at the roof of your mouth. So once you inhale, you immediately place your tongue at the roof of your mouth because it allows you to hold it. You hold it for however long you can hold it. I usually count backwards or count forward, but the thing that relaxes the mind is how you release it. So you don't release it quickly. You have to.
So somewhat like an inhaler
Yes.
in that
Because when
mechanism.
you're releasing that breath, what it's doing is slowing the mind down.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
slowing it down. When you're holding your breath, your mind doesn't have time to wonder about anything else. So you're controlling what's going on there both ways by inhaling and what you release.
Okay. At
It's
this
very
time, we're
relaxing.
taking questions. Thank you, Christine.
You're
Anybody has any
welcome.
questions for Chris? I'll
I
give you a second to.
do. Sorry.
Hi, sweetie. Go
Trina.
ahead.
Hi,
Christina.
Kathleen.
Hi, Christine. Thank you so much. I'm sorry that I have been listening, but I've had a few other calls. But anyway, I wanted to know what the light was called. You said there was a specific light for when the winter months happen.
I forget the name of it, but I know that Walmart sells it and it's made by
Well, I'm gonna Google it
Sunbeam.
now. Okay, let me Google it. Frank, if you're listening, can you Google it and see? There's a special light for seasonal.
Yeah, it's a mood light.
A moon light. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I haven't
And
had
we
to
would like
use it in a long time, Kathleen. So
No problem. I just thought it was really cool because it is so true. In the winter, it is very difficult.
it is. It is. It's very difficult to get out of bed because it gets dark way too early. It's like 5 o'clock, and your body's like, "Yeah, go to bed." But your mind is like, I need to be out. I need to be doing things. And so you struggle. It's that back and forth type thing. So yeah, that light really helps. I have a vitamin D deficiency because my thyroid is gone. And so I do take vitamin D. I take about 2,000 milligrams, I believe it is, a day.
Chris, is it called a satellite therapy lamp?
Yes, it looks like a little square light.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
so
it.
something that you would see like at a vanity, like on your vanity table?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If you look in the chat box, you will be
Googled
able to
it.
see I put it up there.
Oh, cool. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Christine.
Oh, you're welcome.
Anybody else has any more questions for Christine? So let's talk about this satellite therapy. I'm really interested now, being that you talked about it. I mean, you brought it up. I know, I have noticed that there are times when the season changes, like especially when it gets dark early. It's somewhere between the spring going into the summer, and it's in between the fall going into the winter. That's when I get hit the hardest. And I have never heard of such a thing in my life. I'm gonna try it out and see how it works for me. What you had mentioned to us about the satellite therapy, what can we expect from it outside of it giving us a source of light? Is it mood setting or what?
It basically stimulates your mood, because when it gets dark, your body automatically is like bedtime because it's dark outside, right? So for a person who struggles with, rare diseases like you guys do, or mental illness like myself, it's easy for us to get, just to get depressed or what have you. And, oh, it's dark outside, I don't want to do anything.
Me right
And
here.
so, yeah, when it gets 5 o'clock and it's dark outside and I get off work, the first thing I want to do is go to bed. So I have to force myself, to say, hey, get it together. It's okay. It's just 6 o'clock. It's not 10 o'clock. But what that does is it helps with the stimulation of your mood. So if you feel yourself, oh, I'm just dragging, I just don't feel like doing anything, it acts just almost like the vitamin D that you get from the sun when it's daylight saving time, and it makes you want to go. So what it's doing is manipulating the mind and providing a temporary source of light that you would not have because it's dark outside.
So
See,
it
right
stimulates
now,
your more.
exactly. Yeah, that's what it does. And if you do that, if your vitamin D is low and you do that as well, it helps a whole lot.
With us, we
Can
have
I
to be
ask
kind of careful with the vitamin D. Our body just takes so many different hits, but for those who are listening, be just self-conscious and be aware that if you're thinking about taking vitamin D supplements, please check with your primary or
Exactly.
your specialty specialist for best results.
I think Patricia has a question.
No, I was actually going to make that same point, Trina, so thank you. That because sarcoidosis, for some people, not everyone, results in a dysregulation of vitamin D. And if you're going to take any vitamin D supplements or any like the seasonal affective disorder light, check with your doctor first, and also make sure that they're measuring both vitamin D levels, because most doctors only measure D25, but in sarcoidosis you have to measure D25 and D125 and make sure that those two levels are at a good rate before you take supplements.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Patricia. Now,
Sure.
Chris, moving
Thanks.
this
Yes.
forward, we're about 22 minutes before we bring it to a close. Can you give us what colors, those who deal with the mental health issues, what colors stimulate you or can stimulate a person to a most positive side there can be? I know that certain colors, kind of like black and brown. I love earth tones. So I don't think black, brown, or earth tones are depressing. But for some people who really have, like, outside of anxiety, say schizophrenia or something to that nature, is there a link, is what I'm trying to find out, with the colors, the smells, the tastes of things? Does that enhances the illness itself?
For me, no. I've always liked black, but I will tell you this, since being on the Lexapro and being balanced mentally, I have opened my mindset up to colors that I would never wear. Like there's pink. I love pink. I actually wear yellow now. And so when I do wear those colors, I do feel a lot more energetic than I do when I wear black. And I wear black mostly every day. But I've tried to incorporate all of those colors into there. But no, I don't believe that it has an effect with major depression, because it's a different type of illness. Schizophrenia and things like that, it could trigger, different moods, different actions from them, and so forth.
Sorry about that. Okay, so moving forward, anybody else has any questions? So my pet peeve is, there are times I know that I have some issues, and I think mine is more like an aggressive issue. Like if you, it's like a child pointing their finger and picking on another child, and at some point it's like, this is what you get. So can you teach us some skills on how to cope with being annoyed, with embracing, accepting things the way they are
Okay.
in life?
I will be honest with you, when and meditation is just my go-to, because when I'm in the workplace, and even not being in the workplace, even now, if my supervisor said something or does something that is annoying to me, and I want to be totally type A personality, I get up, I say, okay, I get up, I go outside, or I go into another room, and I just breathe. I don't even focus so much on meditation. I just breathe, hold it as long as I can, blow it out. And I do that about 3 or 4 times. And then I say to myself, I kind of talk myself through it, and I say, okay, you know what? This is not what I want to do, but this is my job, or this is not going the way I want it to go.
Affirmation.
But it's going the way it's supposed to go, because we have to understand that, not to be spiritual, but I am. Everything in this life happens the way it's supposed to happen. Is it beautiful? Is all of it beautiful? No. But I try to find the beautifulness in the midst of something that's ugly and messy. And so that's what I do on a daily basis. And it's something you have to work at every single day, because we're humans. So it's easy for us to shift back into old mindsets. I know holidays are horrible for me. They are absolutely horrible. My daughter is so into them.
What do you
How
do
do
to
I
get through
cope?
those?
This past holiday, it was bad. It was a lot of crying. I hadn't
And
had
that's
that
okay.
in a lot
Crying
of
is
time. Yeah, crying is
okay.
healthy because you have a chemical in your tear that if you don't cry and you hold on to it, that creates depression. So it's
Wow.
important to cry because it cleanses the soul. That element that causes depression, once you cry, it removes it. So I learned that from studying psychology and things of the brain. But I did a lot of crying this holiday, and of course my daughter, she picked up, and she came back. She goes, "Mom, here's a blanket." She knows I love ink pens because I'm a writer and an author. She goes, "Mom, here's some ink pens. Here's some cup. Here's a planner." And I hugged her. I said, "Thank you." And I said, she says, "I know you're struggling." She said, "I know, and I'm sorry, but I hope this makes you feel better." And so that's what I do as well. I will shop if I have money. So you find, something favorite that you like that kind of makes you feel good.
Outlet.
And then you purchase that. A lot of times I will read books. There is this website called Thrift Books. It is awesome. You can get books on there for $2 to $3. They come very quickly. I absolutely love them. I will do things on the internet. I'm a big historian. So I will get onto the internet and I will research history, or I will go to Netflix. Netflix has this theory called this series called Cuba, the liberation basically of Cuba, but it's Cuba Libre. I believe that's what it's called because it's Spanish, Libre. So I watched that. That was a very informational series for me. I started getting anxious and kind of frustrated. It's like, oh my God, like, why can't we go outside? Why isn't anything open? And I felt myself going there. So I said, okay, well, let me do something to distract the mind. So either you want to cope with something that you like to do, get a hobby. That's awesome thing to do. Whether it's a walk, whether you're knitting, whether you collect things, whatever the case may be. But you also have to, I think the best coping mechanism is to talk to yourself positively, speak it forward so it becomes reality. And that's how I shifted my mindset, because I was very pessimistic. And I got up one day and I said, you know what? I said, let me try this positive thing and see if it really works. Let me just see. And ever since then, I've been going, and people were so shocked to see how I'm handling adversity and things now versus those who knew me when I used to go, oh my God, my life is over, everything is going wrong. So, and I know Trina can attest to that because she's been around for all my transitions. So, you know, those are the things that I would do. Get you a hobby, find you a TV series that may intrigue you, take you a walk, work out. I found a workout video on YouTube that I do. Which is fun because it's just dance. You know, it's not like, oh God, he's gonna kill me, I'm working out. I'm just dancing. And that all of those things set off the endorphins in your brain. And so whatever place you're in, whether you're in a funk or whether you're feeling low mood, if you do those things, it will help. There's a young lady, her name is Leslie Sanson, and she does walk from home. So all you're doing is walking in your living room, and you can do a mile in 30 minutes. I think it's 30 or 15 minutes. But if you don't want to do anything,
only a few of us can do that. In 30
walk
minutes.
from home?
That's our truth, you know, not picking fun, but that's our truth. But I get your point. We get your point.
Yeah. So just, you know, make it your own. Find whatever whatever puts you in a place of peace, then you do that. When those feelings come on, okay, let me do this, because I know when I do this, it puts me in a different mind space. So it's just a shift of the mindset, and that's it.
Awesome. Yeah, for me, I love to do the crossword puzzles. Anybody else?
Trina? It's Kathleen. So I teach a seated dance class.
Oh, nice.
You're supposed to be teaching me one day soon.
I know. We gotta do merengue, salsa. What do you want to do?
Oh, maybe we can do a Facebook Live or something. That'd be hot. That'd be hot. The tango or the foxtrot.
Frank has to take the class too, Mr. Ruff.
Okay, that's right, Frank.
That would be fun, Trina. That's really good activity.
That's amazing, Kathleen. There's a lot of patience, a lot of love, a lot of compassion. I commend you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We found that the NASDAQ had lowest frequency of these cars.
So can you give us the rundown of all the authors that you suggested to read or look into? And then once you sum that up, can you also give us some brain activity games that we can do to stimulate our mind and keep us in a positive space?
So I'm a huge, and I'm sorry, Trina, I think somebody's TV is giving me feedback.
Okay.
I can't necessarily hear. What was the first question?
Okay, I was asking, could you possibly give us a rundown of all the authors that you just suggested during this session? And can you also give us some brain activity, mental health games that we can interact with ourselves or with another person, so that we can stay on a positive note?
Sure. So just to kind of run down everything I gave. So of course, my first author for you guys, that was Max Lucado. He has all kinds of books. Lucado.
Okay.
And then you've got Sarah Young. She's got devotions that you can read daily.
Okay.
For activities, games. Now, I'm a huge phone game type girl, so I play stuff. I play Toy Blast, Bubble Pop. It keeps my mind intrigued. I play all kind of games. They have word puzzles online, Trina. I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a lot of word puzzle games. I love those. And you can play them with other people. I play Wheel of Fortune on my phone because you're playing with people across the world. Yeah, and basically you're using your brain to read out the puzzle. So
Now,
I
say if
enjoy
we don't have access to what they call it, to technology, what can we do in that instance? Say you're stuck in the elevator, or your car broke down, you're waiting for roadside assistance, your phone was dead. What other measures can we take?
outside of, and I'm going to be honest with you, Trina, breathing is always going to be my go-to. If you like music, I'm a huge music fanatic. If you like music, turn on music. If you need to reach out to a friend and just have someone listen, and say, hey, I just have to get this off my chest, because it's really got me stressed. But in that particular instance, you want to make sure that it's the right friend. You want to get the friend that's going to say, okay, I understand how you feel, but let's look at the positive side of things. So those are some of the things that I would do. If you don't have technology, I would also heavily recommend exercising, because if you don't have any other outlets as far as technologies and things like that, exercise is always going to be the best for anybody, regardless of the situation. Whether you're only able to sit and lift weights, they have 3-pound weights for that. Where, because I know you guys' disease deals a lot with the lungs. And so if you can't do heavy cardio, you can always get you some little dumbbells and just sit there and just lift them. To keep your mind fixated on something else other than what you're going through.
Right. Sarcoidosis, as you know, it can affect any major organ within its body. And 90% of newly diagnosed patients, from my understanding, according to the study, is diagnosed with sarcoidosis of the lung. But moving it forward, Chris, I know we're wrapping up on time. It looks like we got 7 minutes. If you can just enlighten us with something empowering, maybe a read, one of your favorite reads, poetry, something that would stick to us, and we can carry this and move it forward and carry it
Sure,
with us.
I'd be more than happy to. Give me just a moment here.
Sure. Now, you talked about different types of personalities and dealing with mental health. Can you name those types off the top of your head, just real quick?
There's bipolarism, you got schizophrenia, you have major
So is that
depression.
type A or type B? What's type A, type B?
You mean bipolar 1 and bipolar 2?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know the difference between the two. I haven't fully finished studying all of them.
Okay.
But bipolar, you deal a lot with mood. It's a whole lot of mood things where they go through all these different emotional extremes.
Yeah, the highs and lows.
Say that, Jessica. Say that again.
With bipolar, they go through the highs and lows, like a manic episode. They have mixed episodes. It's like a roller coaster. Some days they're up, some days they're down. And the differences between the A and Bs are you can have one who has a history of just highs all the time. You can have another patient who has lows all the time, or you can have those that are mixed, which means they're up and down. It just depends upon what they have going on.
So when it's low, Jessica, excuse me, Chris, wouldn't that be considered I just lost the manic depressive?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.
So go ahead, Chris, stimulate us and keep us positive, hopefully for the rest of 2020. We're ready for your read.
Absolutely. So my read for you guys and my encouragement today is stay looking to the future. Regardless of what the physical looks like right now, this world and your life and your situation is ever changing. So be open to change. Be thankful for the hard times and prepare yourself for the blessings that are coming in the future.
I claim that. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
At this time, we're about to wrap it up. We have 4 minutes left. If anybody else would like to have an input, feel free. The mic is yours.
A near perfect circle, and its limbs are precisely
Kathleen?
mirrored.
One thing that I like to do, you guys, I have a gratitude journal, and I
Jessica?
know, yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, Kathleen, can you put mute for a second? Thanks, hon.
So one
Go
thing I
ahead.
like to do also is I have a gratitude journal. So at night,
Mhm.
I have had the experience, like Christine said, where I just could not sleep. My mind was just racing, 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 wondering and worrying about so many things. So one thing I like to do now, and I've learned that has helped me get a better night's rest, I have just a little small notebook, and I just happen to jot down as many things that I can that happened that day that I'm grateful for. It could be something as small as my son giving me a hug, or my daughter coming to talk to me, or just seeing like a red bird, which I admire red birds. Just simple small things to take my mind off of whatever was negative
Mhm.
that I experienced that day, to just try to be sure the positive outweighs the negative of anything I've experienced that particular day.
That's
Awesome.
awesome,
Awesome.
Jessica. Journaling is great. I
Yes,
do that when I'm extremely overwhelmed. I do journal. So great call out.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Anyone else would like to participate at this time? One of my pet peeves is to with moving it forward and being real with myself is being true to myself. I'm not going to put myself in a position where I know that I cannot give my best or give someone my best. I'm a mama bear, as you know, Chris, and I love people. I don't like people, but I love people. I love doing for people. And I guess that stems from being the only child. And on that note, I just want you all to know, stay as positive as much as possible. Know that you're not alone. Stay true to yourself, true to your cause. Um, for one, try not to compromise. If you're not happy in a situation or somebody's putting you in a situation, speak up for yourself. Take a course of action the correct way. Um, Embrace who you are. Keep loving you. Um, Take yourself out on a date. Rather if it's candlelight and you cook your fabulous meal, the best meal you know how, rather if it's meatloaf and cornbread and rice and whatever it is, just take care of you first before anybody else. That's all that matters at this time. Because if you're not right, nothing else matters. Honestly, stay empowered, people. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for
Frank,
having me.
Thank
thank
you,
you, Christine.
Christine.
How well. We
Thank you,
appreciate you.
Christine.
Yes, yes, you guys. It won't be the last time you see me, but you guys stay encouraged. And until next time, okay?
And you too, Christine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Good
Good
night,
night.
everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Good night.